September the 16th, 2024. The invocation will be provided by Westwood Baptist Church Pastor Steve Smart. Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Mylan Blake. Please stand.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we're thankful to be together on this afternoon. Father, I thank you for those who serve the governance of our county. Lord, I thank you for these who sit on this. Bless them, Lord, each, I pray. Thank you for our mayor, service that he's given to our county. Father, thank you for these citizens who have come to participate in the engagement process. Father, I pray your blessing, favor. I pray your wisdom would rest upon these commissioners. I pray that it will be a joy for them to serve our county. And Lord, we give you thanks for each of their lives they have committed to this service. Bless them, bless their homes, bless their decisions. We pray for the good of our community. Let those who are in need find relief by the decisions that are made here. Help us all to be sensitive to them, to all citizens, Lord, I pray. In all things, we ask that you would be glorified, as this is a place of peace, a place of safety, governed well by thee. Pray this for your sake and glory.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We'll now have the roll call, please.
Blake.
Here.
Collins.
Here.
Gilbert.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Goins.
Here.
Slater. Here. Mason.
Here.
Ledford.
Here.
Rogers.
Here.
Winters.
Here.
Beatty.
Here.
Hughes. Alford.
Here.
Cry.
Here.
It's 14 present and none absent.
We'll now go to the report from the county mayor. Mayor Davis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, everyone. I believe everything we have is on the agenda today, so I have nothing further to report unless someone has something for me.
Does anyone have anything for the mayor?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. The consent agenda.
Commissioner, can we approve the minutes first?
Yeah, let's back up and approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'm looking for a
So move.
so moved. I need a second. Got a second, Commissioner Winters. Any discussion on the minutes? Call the roll, please.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
It's 14 in favor and none opposed.
All right, now, the consent agenda, I had a motion and a second, right? Any discussion on the consent?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull item 2 from the consent agenda. This is the budget amendment submitted by Bradley County Schools that include funds to purchase property for future schools. I think it's important to note that this will be a third piece of property for a future school, I believe, before we move forward with purchasing land, and our education committee should meet and be appraised of the school's long-range plans. I move to add this amendment back to the agenda on October the 7th consent agenda to provide time for the education committee to meet. I place that in form of a motion.
Do I have a second? Second from Commissioner Goins. Open for discussion. No discussion, call the roll, please.
So now, is this just on this item?
Yes,
or is
ma'am.
this the whole consent?
No,
and
just
full
that,
amount?
just that item.
Okay. Blake.
Yeah, are we still in discussion? I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman.
We're still in discussion. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question for Commissioner Alford. So let me make sure I get this right. You want to send it back to committee, education committee, for, I guess, put it on the agenda, but we're still going to vote on the amendment at the next voting session.
Yes, that is.
I just wanna make
You
sure
see, I added it back to the consent agenda
Thank you,
for
Mr.
the
Chairman.
next
That's all I
voting
have.
session.
Anyone else have anything? Call the roll, please.
Blake?
Yes.
Collins?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Goins?
Yes.
Slater?
Yes.
Mason?
Yes.
Ledford?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Beatty?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Alford?
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
It's 14 in favor and none opposed.
Thank
All right. Reports from committees and our districts. I'd like to remind everyone.
Point of order.
Oh, but we got to vote on the whole thing.
Okay.
Any discussion on the remainder?
So I do need the motion and the second. I'm sorry. Who
Okay.
made the motion?
Do I have a
To
motion?
approve it?
I second it.
And Goins on the motion and the second on Winters.
Okay.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Blake?
Yes.
Collins?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Goins?
Yes.
Slater?
Yes.
Mason?
Yes.
Ledford?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Beatty?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Alford?
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
It's 14 in favor and none opposed.
Now we'll move along to the reports from committees and or districts. I would like to remind everyone to use their microphones, and the present committee assignments are attached in front of you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a request that we enter the committee assignments into the minutes of today's meeting.
Second, so done. We'll now move along to the reports from the committees and our districts. We'll start on our left with Commissioner Beatty, please.
I have nothing to report today.
Okay, Hughes,
When we were outside, I have nothing to report.
Alford,
Second district's doing well, thank you.
Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. One, Crystal, the other day, the growth committee met, and I was just wondering if the documents that they were handed out are subject to public. Can we request those documents?
My initial answer would be yes, but I don't, who created the documents, where did they come from, were they?
They
part
came
of-
from a different number of sources that were handed out. I had the opportunity to attend the meeting, and
But they were handed out at
they
the
were
meeting.
handed out at the meeting from different sources, I think including utilities, city, accounting, whoever, I don't know, all the authors are, but I was just wondering if they were subject to it.
Yes, if they were part of the public meeting and were used in that public meeting, yes, they'd be public records.
Thank you, Crystal. Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee met last week and voted to purchase 10 pair of low voltage emitter gloves from the Sheriff's Office with American Rescue Plan Act funds. Mr. Chairman, I put this recommendation in form of motion. Thank you.
Second on Commissioner Winters. Open for discussion. No discussion. Call the roll, please.
Blake?
Yes.
Collins?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Goins?
Yes.
Slater?
Yes.
Mason?
Yes.
Ledford?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Beatty?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Alford?
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
It's 14 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance Committee also voted to recommend approving two public water fund applications. It is important to note that the Southeast Tennessee Development District reviewed both projects and recommended funding. You have maps and development districts letters before you. The first project, 3030 Rakeshaw Road, is an $85,000 project. Cleveland Utilities agrees to contribute $20,000, and the Finance Committee voted to recommend the county contribute $22,500. Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the Finance Committee's recommendation and to contribute $22,500 to the 3330 Rakeshaw Road Public Water Project. Good Lord.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Who was the second there? I got Commissioner Slater on the second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Blake?
Yes.
Collins?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Goins?
Yes.
Slater?
Yes.
Mason?
Yes.
Ledford?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Beatty?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Alford?
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
It's 14 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next project is the 1657 White Oak Valley Road Northwest. This is a $28,800 water project. Cleveland Utilities agrees to fund $14,000 $400. The Finance Committee voted to recommend accepting the Development District's recommendation that the county contribute $7,200. Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the recommendation appropriation of $7,200 to the 1657 White Oak Valley Road Northwest Public Water Fund. Put that in form of motion. Thank you.
Second.
Commissioner Hughes on the second. Open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Blake?
Yes.
Collins?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Goins?
Yes.
Slater?
Yes.
Mason?
Yes.
Ledford?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Beatty?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Alford?
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
It's 14 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We also learned that one of the ARPA-funded water projects is a private road. After much discussion, the Finance Committee and the mayor agreed the county does not install water lines on private roads. Cleveland Utilities offered to install, at their expense, water meters at the intersection of Binker and Frontage Roads, allowing property owners the opportunity to run a service line to the meters for waters. Since we approved the Binker Road project by Resolution 2023-50, which is before you, the Finance Committee voted to rescind Resolution 2023-50. I put this in the form of motion. Thank you.
Do I have a second, please? Commissioner Goins on the second. Open for discussion. No discussion. Call the roll, please.
Blake?
Yes.
Collins?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Thompson? Yes. Goins?
Yes.
Slater?
Yes.
Mason?
Yes.
Ledford?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Beatty?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Alford?
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
It's 14 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We also voted to recommend requiring public water fund applicants claiming contaminated wells to provide proof of contamination. Mr. Chairman, I place this in the form of motion. Thank you.
Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
Commissioner Rogers on the second. Open for discussion.
Chairman,
Yes.
just a question on that. How would we go about doing that, Mr. Blake? You think it should go to legal and so forth, or just, we need some criteria, probably.
I believe I'm going by the way the motion was articulated in finance. If you want to send it to the policy, I guess you do a substitute motion on my motion.
Are we changing policy, Ms. Freiberg,
We're
on that,
adding
you
to it. I
think,
don't think we
adding?
currently have a policy that
It would be a requirement that's not already in place, so you'd
Right.
be adding.
So your suggestion would be what? Go to legal and finance to add it, or leave it like it is here?
We don't have anything in writing, do we, that? It would probably make sense to make it a written policy. if that's what we want to do.
Okay. So you're thinking it should go legal and legislation?
Either that or a direction for legal and legislative to work on it and bring something back.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll
So-
send it to legal and legislative. That should remove any doubt about anything.
All right. Mr.
Yes, but we would need a substitute because the recommendation from Finance Committee was what Mr. Blake just read. So somebody would have to do a substitute motion in order
Fine.
to do that.
Mr. Chairman, I make a substitute motion to send this to legal and legislative at their next meeting.
Second.
Rogers on the second. Open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last, the Finance Committee voted to recommend the Commission Office request on the last Friday of each month the report of open purchase orders for Fund 128. This report will allow us to stay abreast of ARP expenditures as we move towards the end of the fund. Mr. Chairman, I place it in the form of motion. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, the Goins on the second. Open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Blake?
Yes.
Collins?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Goins?
Yes.
Slater?
Yes.
Mason?
Yes.
Ledford?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Beatty?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Alford?
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
It's 14 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have from the 3rd District.
Thank you. Commissioner Collins, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report today.
Commissioner Winters, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The 7th District's doing well, 60 highways moving on. We can actually see what the engineers have been doing in a way that we understand it, so it's moving forward. Just last week, we celebrated, I think probably poor wording, we honored September 11th and how evil came into our world as a country. This past week, we had shots fired just near Cleveland State Community College. A formal presentation to an individual that lived in that area ended up with gunfire. Our district was notified, Mr. Rogers and I, and got word, and we moved it to our community. But we have a tremendous police force and county program of protection for us. They moved on that quickly, got the individual within about an hour's time. Our communities were safe. The pastor shared earlier that we want peace and safety in this community. We do. But we have people that are standing the guard for us, and I appreciate them and appreciate them for our district. Also, this week, we were just notified that our superintendent of schools is not only the superintendent of Bradley County Schools, but is now the superintendent of the year in the state of Tennessee. That's a tremendous honor. There are great superintendents throughout the entire state of Tennessee, and ours is being recognized. And I think that is a great honor for all of us and all of us in this community. So that's what I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Susan, would you be willing to tell Dr. Cash congratulations for us, please? We'll now go to Commissioner Gilbert, please.
Yes, Chair, I'm looking forward to going to Judge Morgan's court tomorrow. Just wanted to make sure all y'all know, 8:30 in the morning, if you want to come. He's asked us to come and visit his courtroom. So, and that's all for me.
Thank you. Commissioner Thompson.
Mr. Chairman, that's the report.
Commissioner Goins.
This district's looking well. That's all I have.
Commissioner Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing today. Commissioner Winters stole my thunder.
Commissioner Mason, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The road committee will meet at 9 a.m. on September the 25th here in the commission room. That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Ledford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, too, was going to congratulate Ms. Cash on that great accomplishment. And then me and Howard went to the bell ringing ceremony yesterday. The AR, which is Daughters of the American Revolution. And I also wanted to congratulate our two teams, Bradley and Walker Valley. I went to that game Thursday, even though Bradley lost. But anyway, congratulations to them. And other than that, Mr. Chairman, that is all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Rogers, please.
Nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We will now go down to the approval of the agenda. I'll look for a motion. Do I have a second? Winters on the second, Goins on the first. Open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Blake,
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins,
Yes.
Slater,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Ledford,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
It's 14 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you. We'll now go to agenda item A. That will be Commissioner Mike Hughes, please.
Mr. Chairman, this is a resolution authorizing Bradley County Mayor to negotiate and enter into an agreement with CINTAS Corporation for uniform rental services for Bradley County Fire and Rescue for the term of 36 months with a unit rental rate for each pant and for each shirt. This can be seen on page 41. I put this in the form of motion.
Do I have a second? Commissioner Mason on the second. Open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
It's 14 in favor and none opposed.
We'll now move along to agenda item B. Commissioner Josh Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution to rezone from FAR Forestry Agricultural Residential District to R1 Rural Residential District property located at 3784 Benton Pike Northeast and Cedar Creek Crossing Road Southeast and identified by tax map 051, parcels 029.00, 100.00, 100.09, and 099.01. You can see these on pages 42 and 43 in your packet. I place this in form of a motion.
Thank you. We will now go into a public hearing for the rezoning request. Is there anyone? I need a second.
I'll second it.
I've got Commissioner Gilbert here on the second. Any discussion? Yes.
How did the planning commission vote?
On this one, I believe it was unanimous.
All right. Anything else? Now, do I go into my public hearing now? Thank you, which I thought I was supposed to. Yes, we will now go into a public hearing for this rezoning request. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this request? In the back, come on up. You got two people.
Yes, my name is Boy Heron. I live at 3723 Benton Pike, directly across the street from property that's west. I'm opposed to rezoning for a number of reasons. Earlier this week or last week, I mailed a letter to list reasons. I've since learned that the rezoning does not entail actual development of the property. It's a rezoning to change the use of the. I'm opposed to that also. Seems like all of our farmland is taken away. I feel like Bradley County needs farms. And by developing this large tract of land, a large portion of the farmland is being taken away, and I feel like that it could impact the use of adjacent properties by rezoning. The development, I understand, could have as many as 500 plus homes on it, and some of my points on my letter addressed census information about the number of children, automobiles at each household, the existing congestion on Benton Pike and Michigan Avenue School area. Morning. Basically, I'm opposed to it. I feel like as elected officials, your responsibility is to look out for the best interest of the residents of the county. In my opinion, it's not in the best interest of Bradley County residents to allow this development.
Thank you very much.
Linda Heron, that was my husband. He did send out a letter to each one of you. We had 3 people to reply. One of them was Cindy Slater, Josh Rogers, and then your secretary. Our commissioners, Mr. Gilbert and Mr. Thompson, did not reply. Did you read the letter?
Yes, ma'am, I read the letter, and I spoke to your husband in a earlier meeting before.
No, you didn't.
Was y'all not here a couple weeks ago?
No.
Okay, that's the wrong man. But yes, I did read the letter. I was thinking it was somebody else. And did he not speak about the road? Was he not here a couple weeks ago talking about widening the road. Was that somebody else on Benton Pike? I am so sorry. That's who I thought it
I would
was.
have appreciated a letter, text, email, call, anything from our two commissioners. Maybe support us. Also, Mr. Ledford met us in the parking lot. As soon as we got out of our car, explained the situation. Our presence is basically not needed because it was a done deal anyway, that you would pass the resolution. And he said that he agreed with us, but he was just one person. And I told him, I said, it takes one person to start it off. And then maybe other people will fall in line. And I don't think it's your job to agree with each one every time you bring something up. It's not necessary for it to be unanimous. You need to be your own person, make your own decisions. Also, I was raised on my grandfather's farm. He had 200 acres in Charleston. We ran through the woods, we played in his creek, we played in his pond. We had the best childhood growing up. My cousins down the street. And before you know it, our children, our grandchildren aren't going to have any farms to play on. I didn't have that experience that I had growing up because you're agreeing to rezone every piece of farmland to build houses on it. And people like, was it D.R. Horton, are building those high-dollar, cheap houses. And I've been in one of them. He's building high-dollar houses, charging people a fortune, and taking up all of our farmland for that. And I just feel like that you need to stand up and vote against this. I don't have a problem with you changing the zoning, but I think that you need to not agree to put 500 houses on that piece of property. We have a Church of God Tabernacle going in right across the road from us. That didn't require any rezoning, so they are building a tabernacle. Their driveway comes out right in front of our house. So that's going to add a lot of traffic on that road. Now, if you allow them to build all these houses, where are those kids going to go to school? How is the traffic going to be affected? When we come out of our driveway, we have to come out hot because you're going to get run over or somebody's going to be blowing their horn because you were in front of them. The traffic is terrible on Benton Pike already. To allow them to build all these houses, and it's just going to be that much worse. So I think it's time that each one of you stepped up and did your job and vote your heart, not what all the good old boys are doing.
Commissioner Gilbert.
Mr. Thompson.
Oh, Mr. Thompson.
Ma'am, I got a lot of calls from Flagstaff. And Flagstone, and the most concern was about Benton Pike and what the traffic was going to do, and Peach Orchard Hill Road. And basically that was the biggest complaint that we got, if we're going to widen that road in that area or put a turn-off lane or whatever. And we've talked to the road commissioner about that. Of course, it costs a lot to widen roads, but if they've got the right-of-way sometimes, why, he'll go ahead and put a turn lane in or something. But that hadn't been approved yet. But anyway, we've got a road committee meeting coming back up again, so I'm sure it'll be brought up. That's all I have.
Commissioner Gilbert.
Ma'am, I apologize again for not emailing you back. I actually thought it was the other gentleman that spoke. And I agree 100% with you about farm property. As a business owner, and I have flour and cake flour and bread flour, and we're having to buy it from overseas. It's coming from overseas, and I totally agree with you about the farmland. And as a constituent of mine, I'm going to vote no on this.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate any vote that is no. Thank you.
Anyone else, please? Yes.
I'm Ben Berry with Berry Engineers, representing the property owners, the applicants for this rezoning. Just to kind of set the framework of what you are looking at and what's on the agenda today, this is a down zoning from what currently exists. So the property is zoned FAR, Forest Agricultural Residential. It has the residential component already built into the rezoning. So residential subdivisions are currently allowed under FAR. By rezoning to R1, which is what we're requesting, all we're doing, we're leaving the residential subdivisions in there. We're removing forestry and agricultural. So it removes uses such as the agriculture, like chicken houses, mobile homes, shooting ranges, a lot of the things that we don't want as part of a subdivision. So we referenced the residents at Flagstone subdivision. You know, their subdivision, it's zoned R1. Back on Hancock Road, there's American Drive that has some homes on it, nice little cul-de-sac subdivision. It's zoned R1. Subdivisions are zoned R1 because it's solely for the purpose of a single-family residential home, which is why that is the purpose for our down zoning request from FAR. So the natural question, like, is this a good location for a subdivision in this county? And first we look at just kind of what's surrounding this property. One, it's right next to a golf course. I mean, who doesn't want to live next to a next to a golf course? I mean, it's a great amenity. There's a ton of people out there that would love to have access. In fact, most of the people that live in Flagstone move there because of the golf course. The Church of God has purchased the property directly to the south. So the neighbor of this subdivision is a Church of God tabernacle going to be under construction. So that's a very compatible use. Access is good. I mean, Benton Pike, for as county roads go, Benton Pike is a good county road. It also has a second access in the back to Hancock Road. You know, a large development like this, you'll be able to link Benton Pike to Hancock Road. I actually had a neighborhood meeting with the residents of Flagstone subdivision. So after the planning commission meeting, they reached out and I was able to meet with them in the backyards of one of the homes. And they liked that fact. They could pull out of their cul-de-sac subdivision, actually cut through the neighborhood if they needed to, and go over to Hancock Road. So it's got great access. Most critically, and really a rarity in Bradley County, is it has access to sewer. So if you want to look at, are we concerned about, where's growth going to happen? How much growth is going to happen? Where's it going to stop? Growth is limited by the availability of sewer. That's just, there's not, we don't get any, in our business, we don't really get any new subdivision requests for subdivisions with septic systems. It's very, very difficult in today's permitting environment to do a subdivision development with septic systems. Everyone wants access to sewer. There's very limited areas in this county that have access to sewer, and this is one of them. From a county perspective, that's great, because years from now, you're not going to be dealing with failed septic systems. You're not going to be looking at all the complaints that you guys hear on a regular basis, because this has access to sewer through Ocoee Utility District. I mentioned the neighborhood meeting with Flagstone subdivision, which I actually, at the end of planning commission, I offer myself, I'm available for discussion from either you guys or people that were there. I've been able to talk with a lot of the residents, hear their concerns. I heard the same concerns as Commissioner Thompson. They were concerned about traffic and really traffic growth, not just from this development, but from here moving forward. And specifically, their concern really wasn't Benton Pike; it was Beach Orchard Hill Road, the cut through that goes up to Michigan Avenue and Stewart Road. So I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, as this county grows, planning has to occur. I mean, planning from a transportation standpoint, schools, like that's just the reality of growth in general. Not really specific to this rezoning request. That's true in general. County grows, we have to address these issues. This rezoning actually can be beneficial, especially to elected officials like you, because it can act as a tool to where should we target some of these investments. If you know that areas have access to sewer, they can be developed, If you know that certain properties have been rezoned, then you know, well, maybe we can look at the school systems in this area. Maybe we can look at the road systems in this area, because this rezoning doesn't mean that these homes are built year 1, year 2, year 3. This is a big rezoning. This is a large tract of land. It is a multi-year, multi-phase project. If you're familiar with Benwood, that's very close to this. It's one of the larger subdivisions in the county. How long did that take to build out? You know, think of it that way. Just because you rezone today doesn't mean those homes are on the market and occupied immediately. This is a long-term, multi-year project that allows you the opportunity to do some planning. So I'm here to answer any questions have them.
Anyone have any questions? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, Ben, just for clarity's sake, a vote of no will not stop this subdivision from coming to this property, correct?
Correct. We already can do a residential subdivision under the current zoning.
Okay. I just wanted clarity. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is the
It's about 170, thereabout.
Any other questions? Commissioner Winters.
Mr. Berry, I've known you as a neighbor, and you grew up in this county, and your father's a great builder. You see our challenge from a building perspective, but also as a neighbor and a individual that loves Bradley County. The big question here is how we have rural property that can keep what Ms. Herron shared, that families can be into and still have subdivisions like this. As you're building, you're going to be looking at this at the same time, right? How you keep the rural effect and the rural touch and have growth there. The challenge for us is, as has been said by the residents there, is about roads, about infrastructure, schools, all of that. And that's progress, and we're all for progress. But how do other counties such as ours, how do they reap funding to do such in a way that's kind of a routine? Is there a funding mechanism that other counties such as ours, let's say Nashville area that's got all these subdivisions around and are wanting to have rural at the same time have the growth? How do we fund roads without raising individual taxes? How do we do this progress in place? How do other counties and metropolitan areas work this out? What do you see?
So there's the first observation that you had, and it was something that was shared, about preservation of farmland and
right.
the rural nature of Bradley County as a whole.
Right.
I mentioned this if you watched the Planning Commission meeting or was in attendance. I personally don't believe that the development of subdivisions and the preservation of farmland are mutually exclusive things. I think there's areas that can be identified for growth and areas of the county that can be identified for farmland preservation. Right. And the easy way to do that is through availability of sewer. I mean, you can do zoning, you can do, those things exist, but practically the availability of sewer makes land easier to develop.
Gotcha.
If it's not available, it makes it very difficult to develop. It's really as simple as that. There's been a lot of talk, which I support. My dad is a home builder. His dad was a farmer. They live in Dixon County. They still have farmland. They're still. I'm very familiar with that. The owner of this land after the meet, I kind of hesitate to share this story, but I'm going to anyway. The owner of this land is the Calfee family. They've owned a lot of farmland in Bradley County. He shared with me after this, his family's been in farming for generations. He is the last of his line that is able to keep farming. There's no one left after him. And so, as a farmer, he buys a lot of things that appreciate. Tractors, equipment, they go down in value. And so at the end of its life, there's nothing left. The only thing that appreciates is his land. And so at the end of this generational occupation, he believed that one way to support a farmer is to allow them the opportunity to sell and repurpose land in a way that's also beneficial to the county, which is growth. So he sees that as a way of supporting farmers. I mean, there's not only one way to support this farmer. So I don't see those things as being mutually exclusive. I think they can all fit together. Funding is out of my wheelhouse. I'm sorry. I don't want to dodge the question. It is something that I am not as well connected to.
Right.
You guys are probably well connected to. Mayor Davis is,
Right.
but that's not something I know of.
That's the reality we live in
Yeah.
up here, is how we can do all this, and within the tax dollars that we have, within the funding that we have. So that's what we continue to look at, is what we can do. But appreciate your work. I know Mr. and Ms. Herron, known them for years. This is Bradley County at its best, at families, and appreciate what you do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? Commissioner,
One more question. So Mr. Calfee owns this property, right? And it's private property rights. That means he can do whatever he wants to with it, correct? And no one can stop him from doing so, correct?
Within law and zoning.
Within law and zoning,
it's
yes.
zoned FAR. He couldn't put a recycling center.
He could build 100 chicken houses on there if he wanted to, correct?
Under FAR, if it fits under zoning and regulation, yeah.
My point being, private property rights. He can do what he wants to with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just I think a point of clarification. Its zone currently is FAR. And you mentioned the sewer, but you can have sewer with FAR.
Sewer is regardless of zoning.
Exactly. So
it could be industrial and have sewer.
So to say that bringing the sewer variable into this, you can do that now. So whether it's FAR or R1 or whatever, sewer is available. The reason I think it's advantageous to go to R1 is you get density, you get more houses per acre.
There's a change in the development pattern that is available. So to kind of get in the weeds, you're eligible to do cluster subdivision zoning. So because it has sewer and with R1 zoning, you can use what's already in your code as far as cluster design. To do that, normal FAR, you have 75-foot lot widths, and that's the minimum lot width. With cluster subdivisions, you can reduce the lot width. I think it's 50 feet, somewhere in that neighborhood. You can go to 50, 60 feet. But you have to set aside 20% of your gross land area as permanent open space. So there's kind of a trade-off. Like, yes, you can go smaller lots, but instead of developing all 170 acres, you have to take 20% of that land and set it aside as open space. And that is the model that we intend to follow.
And does that have to be approved by anyone?
It's a subdivision. It would go to Planning Commission.
The Planning Commission will take that up at the right time after we vote on R1.
That's correct.
Whatever. This is more kind of, I guess, internally to us here. So we've had a number of rezoning requests over the last year or two. Some we've passed, some we haven't. The onus or the responsibility or the burden, if you will, is on us. We're going to be meeting with the Education Committee on the purchase of land pretty soon. We're going to be meeting with the road superintendent here pretty soon. We need to articulate and let them know that these requests for rezoning are coming at a much faster pace, and I only anticipate that they're going to, you know, as well as I do. The land behind this property, from what I understand, is also going to have an R1 request here in the next couple of months or whatever. So we, on this commission, have got to roll up our sleeves and go to work and do our job. I'm not telling you what to do, of course, but you know it to be true. Education, the schools, that was a very good question. Where are those young people, elementary, middle, high school, where are they going to go to school? Michigan Avenue is right down the road, but as we know from the study that we saw a couple months ago, it's at capacity. Hopewell is going to be redone or overhauled. The road that we talked about, we need to talk to Superintendent Collins on what he can do so that we don't have another quote-unquote Michigan Avenue. That's in the 3rd district for us, and we've met with them a number of times. This is now an 8-year project in order to get Michigan Avenue from the Jetport down to Menace Road just to get turn lanes. If we can get in front of that, imagine that, being proactive, all the better. And that, but what you're asking for today is just to rezone it, all that stuff, address those concerns, and absolutely legitimate concerns, is on us. the education part, the road part, other services, law enforcement, fire, all that. So that's the task that we need to accept for ourselves here on this commission. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? Anyone like to speak? Pardon?
I think being proactive, the things I do not growth plan clearly out of date, and I think we updated the growth plan. Individuals who are interested in purchasing property, know where nothing they can do about it now. But as an individual, I think everyone's right to know right here. That's I think.
Thank you very much. Yes. Jeez.
I guess my main question is, why does everything have to be so big? Why does it have to be 500 homes? Why does it have to be 200 townhouses? We live off of Benton, Pike, and Menace Road. We just see development everywhere we look. We have old power line. They're developing down there. They're building little quadruplexes or something up by our firehouse that was never, so that's 16, like units up there. We just feel like we're getting engulfed everywhere we look, but it's always such a huge development. Why is it always so many? My main question.
I need your name and address, ma'am.
Barbara Thompson, 158 Janida Court, Northeast.
You got it, Laura?
Cleveland, Tennessee.
All right.
Mr.
Thank you
Chairman,
very much. Yes.
What was the name? I believe, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, that this is going to be there's not going to be townhomes or apartments or that stuff. You're talking overall. I apologize. I just wanted to, if you're talking about this particular one, it's going to be single family resident. That's what I've been told, and we'll hold them to that. Thank you. Yes.
Commissioner Winters, please.
Ma'am, when I came on the commission, we were debating on the industrial park. And there was questions, did we even need an industrial park and all that stuff? Well, we've done an industrial park, and now it's filling up. We have an industry that's developing that will have new employees. Some will be moving in here, and then what we're told by census is that we're looking at several thousand that will move in here as families to do the work that we call progress in the industrial base that we took a lot of pressure when we took that land out of farmland and made it an industrial park. So now we're reaping the benefits of that. That's pretty positive that people are coming into this area to work, which is amazing in this world that that's happening. So our chambers worked on that, we worked on that, but now we have thousands of potential coming in. Some are already here looking for employment once those plants go full bore. And one of the plants is established for families to work, husband and wife and children. And if the children come, they even going to have a daycare for those children so that families can stay together. So that's the reason that we're looking at voluminous housing. I agree with you. Can we not find a smaller way to do that? But sometimes, obviously, builders have their way of doing things in the community where it is. They're going to do that. But that's what's pushed this. And I agree with you. Why the multitude? I've driven down those Michigan Avenue, Benton Pike, and I see it. So I see the schools. I know what's going on with the schools and all that. Supposedly, this is under progress that's happening. So the progress that we're having with the industrial opportunities that we have here, drawing people, as well as it's a great place to live. We have a community that people want to come to. My neighbors, 3 of them came from California. I'm trying to make sure that they didn't bring that California style with them. But we've got all of that happening. So that's kind of where the numbers are. But there is a challenge, and we, as Commissioner Blake has said very well, is it's up to us to do those things. But it's catching us to a point that we got to move quickly, but we also need to do it right. So I appreciate your point. And yes. Yeah, but that house just takes care of one family. And if you're looking at multiples coming in, I think that's where a lot of this is going. And I agree with you. I like home builders that do it themselves and don't bring in the whole crowd to do the job. I agree that too. But to do the numbers, that's where it is. Thank you.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. If there's no further discussion, the clerk will call the roll. Call the roll, please.
Blake?
Yes.
Collins?
Yes.
Gilbert?
No.
Thompson?
No.
Goins? No. Slater?
Yes.
Mason?
Yes.
Ledford?
No.
Rogers?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Beatty?
No.
Hughes?
Yes.
Alford?
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? That's 9 in favor and 5 opposed.
Thank you. We'll now go to agenda item C. That will be Commissioner Josh Rogers, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution to rezone from FAR Forestry Agricultural Residential District to R1 Rural Residential District, property located at 4050 Spring Place Road Southeast and identified by tax map 081 parcel 015.00. You can see this on pages 44 and 45 in your packet. I place this in form of a motion.
Thank you. We will now go into a public hearing for this rezoning request. Is there any?
I'll second his motion.
Okay, second. Okay, any discussion? Call the roll, please.
No,
don't need to roll.
public hearing.
I'm sorry?
Hearing. There we go.
Okay, that's what I thought. I don't know. All right, we will now go into a public hearing for this rezoning request. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this request?
Good morning, or afternoon, I guess. My name is Angel Rivera. I live on 268 Ball Road, right across from the property in question. So everything that was said about the other property applies to this one, but I don't know if they know. When we get torrential rain, that pond next to my house rises over the street. It goes straight right into when you're gonna build. So if you're gonna put houses in there, where's that water gonna go? Also, there's it's called Spring Place for a reason, I guess. There's springs all over that place. There's one right on the ground behind my property. Are there any springs on this property that could be bothered by the construction? I don't know. Do they know? How's that going to affect the ecosystem? When it comes to traffic, Spring Place is a 2-lane road, 1 in, 1 out. Right now, it's pretty hard to get out in the morning and come back in at night. And that's with the cars we just have. If you add this many more houses in there, that's going to really be a problem for also getting town, get in and out of that place. So I don't. It's not going to be easy. It's not. The infrastructure won't support that many more new cars. When it comes to utilities, are we set up to handle that many more homes? Are these going to be regular homes, or they're going to be new homes that are geared toward electric cars and what have you? What's that going to do to us? You got too many cars, electric cars coming in there, and are we going to have rolling blackouts or brownouts, whatever you call it. You know, it's gonna affect our living, our food on our refrigerators, gasoline. You know, it's one gas station on that road. That's gonna be fun to get gas. Our schools, same way. Do we have the schools to have this many more children that could be potentially coming? You know, most of the people that live there is because we like country living. So if we wanted to be in the city, we'd be living somewhere else. I'm probably wasting my time. I'm not an idiot. I know this is tax money coming into the county. So, but I hope that your minds are not made up and you can vote no to this because, like they say, we need the farmland, and we're not set up as we are right now to put this many new houses. There's no way. If any of you live out that way, you know it's hard to get out of there in the morning. That's all I got.
Anyone else, please? Yes.
Rufus Whaley. I live at 320 Ball Road. As we mentioned, you know, I've spoken the last meeting about the infrastructure. I mean, 2-lane road from, you know, Spring Place comes from Georgia. You know, new industrial, you know, park brings more people out of state. There's 2 options for that. There's Dalton Pike and there's Spring Place Road. I mean, you get all the school traffic going to Lake Forest, Valley View. You added to that morning traffic drive to all the new industrial parks that we're planning on putting in, I guess. You know, the road as it stands can't handle that. Every 2 weeks, I have to find an alternate route because of a wreck. I mean, there's a serious need for a bigger road on Spring Place to house another couple hundred homes and families and children and workers, you know, for your industrial parks. You know, Angel mentioned creeks and springs and flood zone. I mean, how much of that land is already zoned flood? Is that the 20% he's going to set aside that he don't have to build on? There is no sewer out there. Ocoee Utility Districts bought land adjacent to that or next door to it. They sold that as water treatment. Now they're changing their minds and going for, you know, sewer. But how many years does that? They don't even have the water treatment plant yet. But they got that passed, you know, on the basis of water treatment, which again is not sewer. So again, the homes there are going to have to be on the septic system. Just trying to think, was it Tuesday? I had to go into town about 6:30, 6:30. Hit APD 40. I go down. They're backed up from Ocoee all the way up to halfway between Jenkins and 20th Street. I had to sit in traffic for 20 minutes just to get to the red light so I could turn left and go around Ocoee Middle to get to the funeral home over there. But it took me 15 minutes just to go half a mile. The infrastructure can't handle 500 more homes here, 200 more homes there, all on the same side of town. There's no restaurants. I mean, we've got a handful of fast food restaurants, but there's nothing. I mean, we've got Walmart and Food City for grocery stores. I mean, there's the south side of town, the east side of town is really lacking in the infrastructure to expand for this many homes. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Want any questions? Yes.
I don't have any questions for you, but I would like to ask our county planner a quick question, if I may, Mr. Chairman. Bentley, so you've heard these concerns and they're legitimate, I think. So when is the right time? Because right now, all we're being asked to do as a county commission is to vote on whether to approve this R1 request. And we've learned from other rezoning requests that these concerns are not, I wouldn't say not to be considered, but they're further on down the process. So exactly when, is it when the plats are approved? Is it when do we interject and say, water is an issue, not at the time of voting for an R1. As we learned from the Dalton Pike, there was water there, but it wasn't to be considered when we were making our vote. But we learned in the road committee about a month ago, Commissioner Thompson was there, that we had a resident lived there first, if you will, and across the street they built a development, and now water's coming across down the development and into this property. And we basically said, well, you knew it was going to happen. So I guess my question is, when do we address these concerns to make sure that they're addressed? It's not at the R1 approval point.
No, it's not. After the plat's approved, they'll go back and do engineering to engineer the stormwater management plan for the interior of the subdivision so that it mitigates the water runoff to adjacent properties.
So it's at your office when you look at the plat and you bring in the engineering concept or piece of this, that's when something can be delayed or paused or.
Yeah, I mean, if there's not water there to hook up to, they're obviously not going to develop the property out.
Well, that's the byproduct of your decision. I'm just where in the process you got step 1, step 2, step 3. It's when it comes to your office.
The plat, the engineering, the road construction. I mean, the utility inclusion will be part of that road.
So basically,
we do that same time.
So basically, when the plat is submitted to your office for approval, that's when all these things that they're concerned about, and we're concerned with them, that they get addressed.
Not with the plat, with the engineering after the plat's approved. I checked the plat to make sure it meets all the subdivision regulation requirements. Then it goes to the planning commission. But on the back side of that, engineering submitted because they didn't get the plat approved.
Right. So what if you approve a plat and then it's not a foregone conclusion that they're addressed? What I want to make sure is that all these with roads, water, school, all these things are addressed at the proper time in the process of.
Well, the plat's approved contiguous to signatures from all the utility providers owned there. So we'll approve the plat, but it doesn't get officially recorded till we get all those plats saying that all the utility infrastructure is put in correctly.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thompson, please.
I guess what Commissioner Blake was talking about a while ago is we're running out of a lot of flat land and we've got hills. And what happens if there's houses at the bottom of a hill and they build a subdivision on top of the hill, and what happens to the water? Of course, it goes to the lowest point. It's not going to run uphill, and that's the problem we got out there. The people were there long before the subdivision was built, and when they built it, why they run the water, of course, on the hill, and you got a driveway or a road that runs right down to the main road, and what runs across right down into their yard, and that's what happened out here. So that's something that I think that we need to look at ahead of time before we ever approve a subdivision.
Commissioner Goins.
How many houses are y'all on this deal in acreage?
That'd be a question for Ben. A plat hasn't been submitted yet, so.
No idea, or just no.
I mean, like on the last one, I know they kept bringing up the 500 houses, but I haven't seen a plat yet. They're waiting on the rezoning.
And how many acres?
Yes.
just waiting to see if there's any more other speakers. But Ben Berry, again, with Berry Engineers, representing the property owner and the applicant. This site's very similar in circumstances to the one you just heard from Benton Pike. So I won't go into all the details that I did on the previous one. But again, it is a down zoning. Residential is already allowed within the current zoning. And we're simply going to R1 to limit it to only single family and to allow us to use the cluster subdivision regulations that Commissioner Blake had mentioned before. Those regulations will allow us to preserve a significant portion of this property. So it was mentioned, one of the residents mentioned some flooding, a lake, and how wet the property is. This property is wet. I mean, it has 2 streams. It has a lot of wetlands. Most of this is on the Ocoee Utility District side, so further away from Spring Place Road. So the back of the property is undeveloped and will remain that way. This subdivision, this development is going to occur in the open fields, in the uplands, and it's going to leave all of that natural. We actually had at the last week's meeting, we had a resident that had the same concern. We met with, we were talking with Commissioner Mason, and we showed them on a map the area that would be preserved and that's currently wetlands that we're preserving. So that resident seemed satisfied with the answer that we were able to give them in a one-on-one setting regarding that. You know, again, the question, if you're going to have growth in the county, where do you want it? Is this a good location for it? And the answers for me on this, absolutely yes. The access is really good. I mean, Spring Place Road, it's a state highway. It's one of the best roads in the county that we have. It has a secondary access to Goodwill Road. The access is good. It does have availability to sewer. This site is actually a little bit different than Benton Pike. Benton Pike is connecting to Ocoee Utility District's main system that's already in place. This project would be the catalyst to Ocoee Utility District being able to operate an additional sewer area for Spring Place Road. So they have acquired land. So Ocoee Utility District is a neighbor. They're at the end of Ball Road. They have acquired land. They acquired it well ahead of this project coming. We're basically following their lead in hopes to have sewer available to Spring Place Road. They can't put in and spend the capital that's necessary without guaranteed customers. You can't make that kind of investment without knowing that you're going to get some sort of return. So this project allows them to take a step forward, make an investment, have new customers come on board, and then that an extension will allow them to offer this sewer to existing customers, anybody that's had failed septic tanks, extend to those customers who may want the service. So yes, they've acquired the property. No, they haven't put anything in the ground because they are waiting for a catalyst, a guaranteed customer base. That's what this project provides. So it really benefits more than even just the area that we're looking at. Again, it's a multi-phase project. We've talked with several residents that live on Ball Road. We've had one that mentioned, they have chicken houses in Ball Road, and they just want to make sure that the new neighbors don't complain about their chicken houses. And to that, I say, you've got your farm, you're there first, and this rezoning does not affect their property. There's several other residents that live on Ball Road, live in a house that is on the same zoning that we're asking to go to. They live in a house that is an R1 zoning. That's the same thing that we're asking. So it's compatible neighbor to those existing homes. Willing to answer any questions if you've got it.
Anyone have any questions?
One more to him.
Go ahead.
It floods in there. They're going to put houses and asphalt and cement. So the water from there is going to go where? To our houses? Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Let me just ask one.
Mr. Winters.
You've heard our discussion back to you all about infrastructure and what us to get and one young lady came up here and asked us to get ahead of this, that she's ticked that we haven't moved faster on this. But as you as a builder and your colleagues, do you all share with us early on, and can you share with us early on what this like an impact study that that you'd be looking at as a builder, how many you're going to bring in, and the gentleman talking about water, how you're going to ameliorate water. Is that part of the planning process with our office and then moving it to us? Obviously, it's going to take a lot of money to do a lot of this stuff. How we're going to do that and look ahead of time. Finance would be looking at that, so we can get ahead of it. But as a builder, we're very much involved here. Is there a way to let us know early, like with the Spring Place Road, with the water concern there, and as the gentleman said about the other options once it moves to the larger roads there, so we are at least notified to a point that this is coming on, and we better move pretty quickly, or it's going to be a year from now, or whatever it's going to be. What do you say to that?
I think that's what's good about today. I think we're coming here with a rezoning request that says, hey, the intent is to build a subdivision on this property. One of the specific questions I should have gotten to earlier, it's 100 acres. And for this site, because of all the wetlands, because of the low areas and the creeks, it has an overall density of about 2 units per acre. So, it sounds, well, 2 units per acre, that's pretty reasonable. It's still 200 homes. It's a significant number, but it's 200 homes on 100 acres. A lot of that 100 acres is served. So yes, part of that's today. Part of that's these rezonings. Now, rezoning doesn't entitle anything to be built. So there's a lot of property that gets rezoned and you don't see the first development on it. So it's very difficult to figure out. You can figure out a direction. You can figure out something approximately what could happen, but there's other steps along the process that develop more certainty as far as timelines and numbers. So from where we are today, this project, 100 acres, around 2 units per acre, that's the density you'd be looking at. We'll know more when we get to the platting process, and even the platting process doesn't establish the homes. So then you get some more of a timeline.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anyone else? Yes.
Real quick, so the other request was approved, as you just saw, and we'll see what happens on this one. But what's your next step in this process?
So we do a lot of things concurrently about risk mitigation, right? Because there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle that have to come together to make things work. So steps that already have occurred are meeting with Ocoee Utility District, making sure that sewer is available. Like those meetings were number one. I don't want to waste your time promising that there's sewer if they come back and tell us there's no sewer. So we've done that. Then it's rezoning, making sure that we know what lot sizes that we can design to. The next thing that if rezoning goes through, we go through surveying, then we'll go through design and platting, then we'll go through permitting, and after permitting's done, that's construction.
All right. So, Mr. Chairman, I think, and knowing that, and then what Bentley has told us, that when it seems like the plat is like really dictates a lot of what's going to happen in the future. Am I correct?
The plat shows you the design intent, and it does. It is a step in in the required process that says this is what we're going to build. And it's a commitment from the builder, and it's also a commitment from the government, the municipality, that, yeah, if you build that, then we'll accept the road. We'll allow you to build that. So that is that's an important document. The preliminary plat is an important document.
It's a new world, so to speak. The plats, can they get approved, and then later on the developer or whoever has the authority, can they say, we want to make this change? Do they have to go through a formal amendment process?
Yes. So preliminary plat is a design, and it's a design that gets approved. If you want to change the design, then you submit a new plat, and the Planning Commission is in charge of approving and denying plats. So the preliminary plat goes through design. You can amend the preliminary plat. You can change it. When you actually get finished with construction, the roads are done. This is before homes are built. Roads are done. Utilities are installed. Then you have the final plat that actually establishes the property lines.
Okay, so not to interrupt you, but I know the final plat, right? So there's phases in this plat approval thing. Mr. Chairman, I think it's imperative because I don't know, I don't ever see a plat. I don't think it ever comes to us. I mean,
It's planning,
but-
it's a planning commission.
but we
item.
just accepted the fact that we have a responsibility for the infrastructure, whether it be education with schools, roads.
That's why you have a growth committee going on right now.
Thank you. That these plats come to either the Building and Land Committee, or at least we're aware of them, so that the homes out there on Benton Pike, the homes over here, and these other ones, we can work with our education board, our school board, work with our road superintendent, and say, okay, these homes are getting ready to be built in the next 36 to 60 months. What are we going to do? And obviously, we're going to have to come up with a funding piece of it. So, Mr. Chair, I don't know if we need to make that a policy, even if we can. But if we're going to accept this responsibility, then we need to be in a part of the process, other than just approving the R1.
As a suggestion, just, or an observation, I think you do have a commissioner that serves on planning commission. It used to be Mr. Hughes, and now it's Mr. Rogers, right? And so, you know, you go through your reports, maybe if you had a report on how many lots were approved, you could add it to the report, but you do have representation on the planning commission.
It seems to me the only thing that's coming out of the planning commission, with all due respect, is whether or not a request for R1 or rezoning request, not so much approval of plats, or that a plat has been approved. So I guess that needs to be, Krista, are we allowed to interject on this, or are we out of our lane?
Out of our lane.
Well, it is, in most communities, the county commission has nothing to do with platting, so it would definitely be, I don't think it's done anywhere else in the state that the county commission has
That
anything
wouldn't be
to
the
do with
first time Bradley County
platting.
does something
So
first, right?
I would have to research whether or not you could, but
I mean, it
as
just
we
seems
sit,
logical and common
it's
sense that a plat,
part of it.
I'm not a plat, but a rezoning request just got approved, and new houses and people are coming, that we would want to know where it's at, what the impact is, you know, the estimate number of people, kids going to school, stuff like that, instead of waiting until we get all kinds of complaints, and then it's very, very expensive to build roads after the fact. I mean, I'm just trying to get in front of it as much as possible. So, Mr. Chairman, that's my 2 cents.
Commissioner Gilbert, please.
The number one concern I have with the constituents up and down the 4th District, from Spring Place all the way down to where you turn to go to Ladd Springs, is traffic. I mean, they've really had some really bad wrecks right there. Was that Church of God of Prophecy? Right in there, wrecks I mean, the road, Spring Place Road, sure, as you go on down to Spring Place Road, it lightens up. But from there back, man, it's backed up all the way up through there. And that's the only thing. Infrastructure, roads, how are they gonna move the people through there? That's the only thing I have concerns
Mr.
about.
Rogers, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would encourage someone who has an issue with Spring Place Road to reach out to your state representative because that's a state highway, state road. So if you have an issue, I believe there's a state representative who is the chairman of the Transportation Committee that serves this area. So I would give him a call and talk about the issues with a state road. That's all I've got, Mr. Chairman.
Let's do
Very
that.
well stated. Anyone else? There being no further discussion, the public hearing is now closed. If there is no further discussion, clerk, call the roll.
Blake,
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert,
No.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins,
Yes.
Slater. Yes. Mason,
No.
Ledford,
No.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Beatty,
No.
Hughes,
Yes.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
Does anyone wish to change their vote? That's 10 in favor and 4 opposed.
Thank you very much. We'll now move along to communications from the audience. I will recognize and allow 5 minutes to anyone that wishes to speak. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to speak? There being no one that wants to speak?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
May I, one quick sentence? So, well, we heard earlier that we can request the documents from the Growth Committee. I'd like to ask if we'll ask Ms. Moultrie to ask for those documents and send it to all 14 of us.
I think that's already been done by myself.
Okay, I apologize. I didn't know.
There's no problem.
I know in the meeting that they said there would be an electronic format.
Well, they're a public record. They should be allowed to be available to everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? Now we'll go to the upcoming events. Planning Commission, September the 19th at noon, courthouse. Michigan Avenue School Playground dedication, September the 19th at 1:15 p.m. Michigan Avenue School Playground. Chamber After Hours, September the 19th at 4:30 p.m. Stay Apartment Suites. Main Street Cleveland Luncheon, September the 23rd, noon, Elks Lodge. Menace Hollow Disc Golf Grand Opening, September the 23rd at 5 p.m. at Elrod Park. And with that,